Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, Curiosity killed these cats. Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to another Thursday. We are so excited for you to be here with us. I wanted to let you know that today is the end of the waxing gibbous moon. You know how we were talking about moon cycles last week? And the thing that you're supposed to do at this time to coordinate yourself with at least the moon, if not the universe, definitely not the universe, but at least the moon, is you want to focus on laughing and having fun. Take a more lighthearted approach to your daily tasks. This is a good time to stay focused on your goal and blink yourself from the outside distractions. And your slow living prompt is to switch off social media early and listening to calming music. Treat yourself to flowers or a potted plant. Make yourself a pot of tea and sit outside and enjoy nature. So that's what's going on. We're going to be in the full moon over the weekend. We have that as well. And Robin was rearranging the feng shui of the...
She messed up my camera,
So we're going to... Hey!
Little technical glitch. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Hi, how are you? We're in the right in the middle of...
She owns a Medi Spa in Nashua, and we're going to have her on our show.
Nice.
George is going to get our contact information.
And this goes right into my first question of, do you want to live to be 120?
Well, yes, I do.
I don't. Think about, am I going to be working at the supermarket at 99 to pay
I'm not,
for it?
Well, you don't work at the supermarket now, so you're not going to be working there now then either.
Am I going to look 120?
No, that's why we got Medi Spas.
Okay. Because right now I'm looking 50-ish, and I don't want to look 50-ish.
I know. I feel like, this morning I was like, oof. I don't want to be I want to be 100. I want to be 120, but I don't want to be in an old body. Like,
and I also don't, if you're not going to be 120,
right.
And my spouse isn't going to be 120,
Yes.
and my in-laws aren't going to be 110 with me.
If my people aren't around.
If my people aren't around, I don't want to.
Actually, I was thinking, I don't even know why I was thinking this morning. I was like, well, I'm going to put it out there to be like 90.
A
I'm going to do that
90.
90, like a healthy 90. But I don't want to suffer.
Right.
I don't want to suffer in life either, but I don't want to be old and like not being able to be incapacitated.
Right. We don't want to not be able to wipe our own bottoms. We
Yes.
don't want to be able to not give ourselves our own baths.
I don't want to have I don't want to just somebody spoon feed me whatever they decide to give me.
Right. Tapioca.
Well, I like tapioca.
Do you?
The warm. It's homemade tapioca. My mom used to do it when I was little, and I don't know, something about it.
I've only ever had school cafeteria.
Like peas
Tapioca.
or
Ugh.
pureed.
Canned asparagus.
I don't want pureed food. I don't
Yeah.
want to be spoon-fed pureed food.
Right. But we've both worked at a dentist office, and we have the flossing and the mouth care. I
Yes.
remember when
Gum disease leads to heart disease, and
Yes.
people don't know that.
I probably didn't go to the dentist for 10 years. I didn't have insurance, so I wasn't going to the dentist. When I finally went for a cleaning, they're like, yeah, you have a little plaque build up here at the front of the bottom, And I said, I haven't been to a dentist or anything in 10 years. And they're like, oh, goodness, this looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But they said, don't tell anybody because no one else will be able to go 10 years without seeing a dentist.
Right.
And since then, I've had insurance and I've kept up on it more. But I noticed that I was getting pretty, not consistent. When you're having difficulty sleeping and you have that moment to go to sleep, but you haven't brushed your teeth and you're like, well, I'm just going to choose to go to sleep and stuff. I was having a lot of that probably about 5 years ago. And you do notice a difference. You notice
Yes.
your gums bleed easier
Yes.
and all that other stuff too.
Well, and even when I was working in the dentist office, I was would tell a lot of patients, even if you just touched your skin and it started to bleed, you would know that something's wrong.
Yes.
It's the same thing as your teeth.
Yes.
But a lot of times we get plaque and build up in that lower part of our mouth, behind our
it's because when we're sleeping,
teeth.
it
Well, you have
bleeds there.
saliva glands there too,
Mm-hmm.
so that's where the most amount of moisture and stuff comes from right there.
So you got to really
Yes. But a simple trick is keep flossers in your car. Like I keep flossers in the house like I keep reading glasses. It's like some in every room.
Yes. Just go in a drawer, you'll find a flosser.
Well, too, because I like a habit. Like if I'm driving down the road, and then I'll floss my teeth. It's just a good habit. My daughter used to floss her teeth when she'd get nervous. Instead of biting her nails, she'd go and get a flosser. Chris is like, the two of you, you're over there picking. I was just picking and grinning.
Yeah. I got yelled at by John because I was flossing not in the bathroom. He's like, what are you doing? Go in the bathroom with that.
Why, so it can be all over the bathroom mirror?
Yep. Where is it going if it's not all over the
Yes.
bathroom mirror?
Ugh.
The carpet.
Stand back.
Yeah.
It should have a little thing on the mirror, like the camera when you're trying to in portrait mode. It
8
says
feet.
move further back.
Yeah, at least 8 feet.
Yes.
Get away from that. And we need better lighting in our bathroom. Stop with the
Yes.
down lighting in the bathroom.
Yes.
Because sometimes in the morning I'm like, oh, I can't even. And then I go in the car and see myself and think, I'm like, all right, don't have a fit. It's fine. But I'm in that
Yes,
bathroom.
or
in the morning,
sometimes,
ugh.
and I have a makeup mirror, and I'm like, dang, your makeup is banging. And then I walk outside, and I'm like, wow, it doesn't even look like I put any makeup on.
Right. Do I have any eyeshadow?
I guess at least it's not on the heavy side.
Right.
I guess that's the truth.
Do you?
How old do you want to live to be?
I want to at least. It would be awesome to reach 100, but my whole thing is the same thing as yours. Is I want to be independent.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, 120 is a little pushing it, but
And so, could I be 100 and independent? If it's
how many 100-year-olds drive?
probably 0.
Mm-hmm.
There was a great story about this guy. He was like 110, and he would knit. Because when you're older, you don't have a lot that you can do, but he could still knit. And he was knitting little outfits for penguins
Oh my
who had been
gosh.
caught in an oil spill. And so when they try to clean themselves, they get sick by ingesting it. But
Yeah.
if they put that over them, they don't try to clean it off until the rehabilitators could get to them. And so he was making penguins, and then he started making beanies for preemies, and he was doing that for years.
Oh my goodness.
And I think
how
when
awesome.
I think when you have a purpose and a reason, and you feel community, and you
Yeah.
feel loved, and you have a reason to stay around, right? And that's why I think people get so nervous about nursing home, being in the nursing homes. Like, who wants to visit me in a nursing home? Nobody.
Well, I think when you think about nursing homes, you just think about a bunch of like old people sitting around, like forced to play bingo and
with people you don't like. Like, you can't get away from
and-
this person.
right,
I can't stand so and so.
right. That's
every-
probably why the high numbers of STDs in nursing homes.
Are they really?
Yes,
Where were they getting the
Google
Viagra
it.
for that? Who?
YouTube it.
Yeah. Are they getting Viagra from? Is that like high blood pressure or whatever Viagra?
Maybe.
And is the women Viagra in there
It
too?
might be.
Because I just imagine that to be like
All they need is a little testosterone. Rub that stuff on.
on the cream. That's true.
I don't know.
How do you handle when people offer you food that you don't think you're going to like in someone else's house?
I'm full.
Ah.
No.
I do allergic. I'm allergic.
I'm
What's in
allergic.
it? I go, what's in it? And then I just say I'm allergic.
Well, the thing is, I'm aware that my face gives me away before
Yes.
my mouth
Yes.
sometimes. Or I'll say, ooh, what is that? Actually, most of the time I'm pretty sure I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty finicky. If I can't come up with something like right off the top of my head, they hit me. I don't know if I told you the story or not, but when I first moved up here to New England, it's very different in many ways from
Very different.
Virginia. And so a lot of people are like homesteading and all this stuff. And like, I don't even think we owned a pressure cooker.
I don't know one.
I didn't know what canning was, but anyway, we went over to these people's house that we met at church, and he worked with my husband, and they have like this little mini farm in Hancock. And it's primitive. Like it just reminds you of like a New England farm, but it's all beautifully landscaped. And she's got her herb garden, a vegetable garden, her flower gardens. She's got this little tiny cute barn. She has little lambs, and she has sheep, and she has goats and all that stuff out there. And so we're over there for dinner. And like, mind you, at this point in my life, I've not eaten lettuce yet. I'm that picky. And I'm in my 20s. But I'm trying to
I'm
embrace
shaking
this.
my head because I can't imagine living to 20 without a piece of lettuce in there. Go ahead.
Ugh. I feel it was, I feel like it was a pretty easy feat, but
Right, just pizza, French fries, hamburgers.
Yes.
Yeah, very easy.
well, in the salad bar it was everything, like the croutons, tomatoes, pickles, crouton, eggs, any cheese, bacon bits, just all the toppings. Not the weird stuff like carrots and green peppers
Kale
and
and none of that.
raw mushrooms and all that stuff. None of that stuff. Just all the good toppings. But so we're walking around and I'm petting the sheep and I'm, petting the little baby goats, and we walk around to the back of the house, back of the barn, and she's like, "Oh, do you see this hole right here?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Yeah, that's how we slaughter our lambs." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, we just put the gun through the hole and they shoot them to slaughter them." I'm like, "What?" So guess what we were having for dinner?
Lamb.
Yeah, I did not eat that.
Right.
I'm like,
It's probably the best lamb to have, but
that was the biggest shock of my life, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was signing up for.
yes. Yeah, and I know
Don't you have fried chicken?
I was at a butcher in Goffstown, and they had this kind of open container, so it had just slats on the side, so you could see the little faces, and they were all the lambs, and it was spring. I was like, "Oh, spring lambs!
I know.
Silence of the lambs! Silence of the lambs!"
I know, and I used to love veal. And we'd go by and we saw the little, igloo houses and stuff. And then at St. Lucia, I think it's in St. Lucia, it's like 2-hour ride to get to our resort. And you're going through the rainforest, but you see all these cows and you see goats and you see like lambs and stuff all chained to, like, they have maybe like a 3-foot chain in this little tiny house on the side of the road, or just sometimes it's just a stake.
Yeah.
And they're out there in the hot sun. There's like no water, nothing around, and baby cows, and I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
I can't look. My blinders are on.
I know. So that's one of my most challenging things, is to be a carnivore while being an animal lover.
Yes.
And I always think, if I'm paying more money for something, they're raising it ethically, and
Yeah.
but and that's why I think things like buffets and all of that stuff gross me out, because there's so much of it that most of it's going to waste.
Yeah.
People just take it because I'm paying $50 for this buffet, so I want to put it on my plate, and then they don't eat it and throw it away. But that's one of the things that I've tried to do, is not waste meat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm throwing avocados away every 5 minutes.
I know.
It's like, or bananas. I'm throwing bananas away like it's going out of style.
Bananas and avocados are so tricky.
Well, you have this 27-minute window,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yes.
So I was going to make the Rob Watts sriracha meal with avocado, egg, a little bit of browned, buttered cauliflower. I was going to do my little dish. And I bought 2 avocados. One day, one was rotten, and I was like, the other one was not ripe yet. And
Yeah.
then the next day, I couldn't do it. And then the next day after that one was rotten. I'm like, man, I cannot get this. I'm gonna have to make something
I
else.
don't buy a whole bunch of avocados anymore. I'll buy 1 or 2, and I'm like, I know I have to have them, or I'll try to buy them on the day that I'm going to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the little seed at the top, there's a way that you could pick that off, and if it's brown underneath there, then it's ripe. If
Oh.
it's still green under there, so you can kind of tell. But I mean, you can tell by
I can
feel.
tell by feeling it,
You
yeah.
can tell by feel too. But I hate when you squeeze the ones and there's that big old air gap.
Yes.
Ugh.
You're like, don't even open that.
I know.
No.
But then you think about, wow, how many times people handle, I feel my fruit. I feel my fruits and my vegetables. How many times are people?
So my
Feel their
spouse
fruit.
doesn't want to wash fruits.
Oh, he doesn't?
He just can't be bothered. So I have to wash his apples, or a fruit that needs to be washed
Yeah.
before he eats it. I have to do it because he won't. I don't trust him to do it. And he just is like, oh, I don't have time. And I'm like, if you saw what I saw at the supermarket with 8 people touching it,
Yes.
I remember I was walking through a supermarket and a kid was picking his nose and his mother was yelling, "Don't pick your nose." And she was like, "Don't eat that." And he wiped it on the plastic wrap of the meat in the case.
Mm.
And she didn't take that meat and then tell them go do
Right.
something with this.
Right.
This has been, and I'm just like, oh my God.
She probably grabbed his hand and did that little flick of the wrist, to
No,
get you in line.
she was telling him because she was in another part of the aisle. And so he just wasn't allowed to put it in his mouth, so he wiped it on
Ugh.
the plastic wrap of the hamburger.
In that case, kid, eat your booger.
Oh my!
If I'd have been standing there, like, eat it, eat that booger.
But just the disgustingness of people touching things, and then you got to wash that.
You should have just waited till his hand was like so close to it and just do zzz real quick.
Like when the dogs get the
Yeah.
electric fences.
Just make some loud noise. Ah! Just really quick.
So I just think people are disgusting everywhere,
Yes.
and I'm washing.
I wash my
I wash
fruit when I get
cans.
home. I wash it when I get home. A lot of times, like if it's grapes and stuff, and I'll just leave it in the colander.
Yeah.
And then I leave it out, and I love cherries, and so I'll get cherries and I'll just leave them out on the counter because it's such a great
Pop
thing.
in your mouth
Yes.
treat.
And then you know that I'm not going to go get something else. I'm not going to go get a couple of chips. I'm like, ooh, I'll just grab a handful of grapes.
Yes.
So I always have it ready. And apples and stuff like that, I wash them.
Yeah.
And then just leave them out.
I can't trust my spouse to do it. I have to do it for him.
Yes.
Because I don't think he knows what he's getting himself into.
Guaranteed.
So I'm one of those people who I'm like you. I'm very picky, but I think I have a wider scope of what I'm willing to eat than you do.
Yes.
And I'm still trying new foods as adults because I may not like something one way, but I didn't like mushrooms till I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And then I had lobster ravioli in a mushroom sauce at a Japanese restaurant.
Yum. That sounds really good.
And it looked and smelled amazing that I had to have some of someone's just to try a bite. And then I was like, oh, I do like mushrooms. I just don't like canned mushrooms. Or I don't like when people, they're very absorbent.
Yeah.
Kind of the way I don't like other people's eggplant either. Because if they don't do a good job, it's just a
Yes.
sponge of oil inside of it. So I've learned to continually try stuff because then I might like something that I might not have liked before.
So the way I do my eggplant parm, like I like it when I do it, like you kind of stack it like a lasagna. But lately what I've been doing is I will do the eggplant slices and I get them really crispy and then I just serve them on top of the pasta. So then you can kind of, once they're really crispy, I'll take a little tiny bit of sauce, put it right on the top of each round, and then put fresh mozzarella on top of that, and then just put it right back under the broiler to kind of bubble the mozzarella, but it still stays crispy, and then serve it over top of my pasta so then you can eat it, and then you have the crispy and you have the, I love it that way.
Yeah, I stopped making chicken parm with sauce
Yeah.
inside. You know, I used to bake everything in a sauce, and then I'm like, no, because all the effort of crisping up these perfectly crispy
Yes.
chicken, and then it gets drowned in the sauce, and then it's soggy anyway. So I stopped doing it. You can add your sauce at the very end if you want sauce on a bit.
Yes.
I'm doing it that way. The
Yeah.
sauce is on the pasta more.
I like that. And then I'll put my chicken cutlets right on top of that, or kind of like on the side. So
Yeah.
then that way you can eat it together, and you still have the crispiness. You still have the
Tomato
sauce.
sauce,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So I will be the first person who, if I'm really panicked about something, I'll be like, oh, what's in it? And then I'll just name an ingredient that I'm allergic to, and then stay away from that ingredient
Yeah.
for the rest of the night, so I don't have to deal with it. But we're both taste and texture people, so the texture can really be like. I
feel
normally
like
that.
if I'm over at your house, if we're getting together at somebody's house for dinner, I feel like then we know each other well enough that I can be honest to be like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen on my palate.
We had one time where we looked at something and we're like, this is not supposed to look this way.
Yeah.
And John was like, oh, and I'm like, what's in it? And then like the second ingredient, I was like, oh, I'm allergic. And you could just see John was so mad that I left him out of
You called it first.
that I left him abandoned in the gross food, you know? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was panicked. And then I realized like, oh, man. You know, we should have said for religious reasons we don't eat that for religious
or
reasons. Or something.
indigestion. It gives me terrible
Yeah.
indigestion.
Yeah. And I never cook with that because we can't eat it. Like, I should have done something, but I left him out in the cold, and he was just like, I can't believe you did that. But you selfish.
Come up with your own excuse.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I was so panicked
I was
in
under
my
pressure.
head. I was so terrified in my head that I was going to have to eat this thing that I was like, you were on your own, buddy. I love you, but you're on your own.
I'm out.
I went to I went to Costco, bought $733 worth
my
of
goodness.
stuff.
It's easy to do at Costco.
Well, the last couple of years I was spending $500. I don't know where the 733 came from, but
Inflation.
so what I did was
Eggs.
I couldn't find eggs.
Actually, eggs are coming down again.
Are they? I got to find them. So
I saw
bought
some the other day. I forgot what store I was in, but I thought it was like $3.69, $4.69.
So I buy
something.
expensive eggs anyways because I buy the pasture range.
But are they really?
The one in the black box, their yolks look like when people
Dark yellow.
No, they're orange. They're bright orange. So I think those taste good. And I had someone tell me that they didn't like eggs, and I was like, "Have you ever had a fresh egg?" Because that's what ruined me. My cousin Erica raised chickens for a while, and she just had tons of eggs, and she would give me like 4 cartons of eggs, and they were because they ate all of the watermelon rinds, like whatever they were eating in a family, they would throw out to the. So
Chickens.
they had a varied diet, and they were almost red. The yolks were so bright and orange, and they were the most delicious eggs I had ever eaten. So then I kind of got spoiled off of eggs. So I buy these pasture raised. What you do is you buy all the eggs, and then you compare the taste and the color of the yolk, and then you're like, okay. Because everyone always thinks I put cheese, and it's like there's no cheese in there because they think it's the orange from the cheese. That's how orange the scrambled eggs are.
Wow.
So I haven't been able to find those eggs in a little while, but those eggs are expensive.
What's your favorite way to eat eggs?
poached?
Poached.
Runny poached.
Like, so when you see the bubble and like when you split it down the middle, the yolk all just runs out.
Mm-hmm. But the white is completely white.
See, I don't like the boiled white texture of poached eggs. It just
get
looks
it.
kind of slimy.
I get it.
I used to make them all the time for hollandaise sauce, but fried eggs are my favorite.
See, I don't like when an egg has brown. So that's why I don't like omelets. So I will make an omelet in my house, but it's not. It almost has that brown shell.
That crispy, where it's kind of.
I don't like eggs like that.
See, I don't mind. Oh well,
Because it tastes like sulfur to me.
When I was young, my grandmother would fry them, but the grease is hot enough, and a lot of times it's in such a, bacon grease or sausage.
So it tastes good
So
just
it
for
gets
that.
crispy on that edge, and I used to hate that little, almost that paper thin kind of thing. But I don't mind that. I'm not a big fan of omelets. Like, I like the idea of omelets. I don't like the texture of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not huge.
I think it's because the egg is done too much.
Yeah.
So when I do it, I will do John's so that I don't know, he doesn't mind that little bit of brown, but mine doesn't even get brown.
See, I don't mind the brown.
Yeah. See, and I just think that's an egg that I don't like. I like hard-boiled eggs done at 10 minutes or under.
Yes.
Anything over that, they smell like sulfur to me.
Yeah.
And then I get that greeny, it almost turns green,
Yes.
the hard-boiled eggs, and then it has that sulfur smell. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So so I go to Costco. I'm like, I have to throw all this stuff that we didn't eat away, the carrot that has the thing growing out of it, right? So I'm cleaning out my fridge, and I'm like, oh, I should throw this to the bunnies and stuff that are over on the side there, because he's just eating my plants.
Right.
Maybe I'll give him something to actually chew on, right? So I'm walking out in my yard, and I realize that this is the sound of all New England yards in March. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I might not be able to look at you when I do it.
Yes.
And I'm like, get me off this grass.
I had Birkenstock slippers and the water's just coming over the edge of it. I was like, yeah, we're knee deep in mud season, but it's 60 degrees, so I've got some open toes on.
Right. I'm like, I think I've got the sound effect down. I know girls don't do sound effects well, but I think that one's it.
You nailed it.
I can ask the New England
You
dad.
also did
I
fast
feel like
forward and rewind really well, too.
I do fast forward and rewind pretty well. But I have to be in the moment.
Yes.
I can't do it on command.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. I feel like it's chilly in here.
That's because I opened this window because
oh.
it smelled like. You can shut it afterwards if you want.
I will shut
So, yeah. So, and I was thinking, okay, I heard someone say, oh, we're going to have all this technology to live to be 120. And I think,
Didn't Walt Disney freeze himself?
I'm sure a lot of rich people froze themselves.
Do you think that's really going to work?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows what the cryogenic technology. I think they were trying it so they could freeze people to put into space. Is
What?
that why they were originally doing it?
Oh, so they could live at space earlier? Or
'cause
are they just going to,
light years.
we're not going to bury anybody. We're just going to shoot them off to the moon.
I don't know. I think because people thought we were going to be interplanetary, and how would we get there? There's so many light years you would die in the travel. So if we could sort of cryogenically, I want to use that word.
Yeah.
I'm inserting that word. I don't know if it belongs in the sentence,
Sounds
but it's
good.
going in there. Cryogenically keep you like in stasis so that you're not aging, so that you could arrive 21 million light years from now and be up.
But that seems like, but you'd have to be alive to be cryogenically frozen, because if you die,
Right.
I mean, so it's almost like,
yeah, you're bringing you back
well,
to life.
it's like animals that hibernate in the wintertime. Like certain frogs will hibernate under the mud and stuff, and they can slow
alligators do it too.
they can slow their heart rate down. They can slow everything down
Bears.
and
everybody.
survive in such a short period of time, like
Yeah.
for a long period of time. But
They shunt everything so they only have the resources to keep them alive necessary, but they're not really using resources.
right, because when we die, we die. Like
Yeah, something's not working.
when something turns off, it's like we can't.
Well, we would have to fix, I think,
Technology can't turn us back.
we can't
on.
all be alcoholics and have livers that live to 120.
That's
So you got
true.
to fix that. And kidneys wear themselves out. So I don't know. You're going to have body part
Well, your
replacement.
body just starts shutting down.
Well, it only has so many,
Right.
and we're not the healthiest group of people
It
either.
only has so much life in it.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't something like 70% of Americans are overweight?
Yes. Hey, do you know that there are there's crocodiles in Costa Rica? You just said alligator. I was like, reminding me of that. First thing this morning, Chris is coming down the steps, and I've got
You're
my
not
coffee.
sharing that Airbnb, right? Is that why you can't put stuff in the common area?
No, we're
Okay.
not sharing it.
Okay.
This is literally in the middle of the jungle, but I think it's because it's all open. It's there's so much open glass, and there's just so much openness that I don't know.
It'd be easy. Okay.
The only place that's air conditioned are the bedrooms.
So if you go in the water, there's crocodiles in the water in Costa Rica?
Mostly in all the waters, like in the brackish water, in the rivers, lakes, estuaries, all this thing.
So if you jump off a waterfall, you could be in a water puddle with...
Well, it says it's don't swim, it's dangerous. And I was like, oh, so on my bucket list, I'm like, I want to go see some of these waterfalls. And I was like, this morning he's coming down the steps, and so you don't hit Chris right in the morning.
Yeah,
with-
he needs coffee. He
yes.
needs...
He's like, I'm still waking up. He's like that toddler, like that at that heavy nap, like the head wobble and like, guide me to the kitchen. He does. So I'm pretty good, but I was really excited about it. And I was like, hey, do you know that we can actually rappel down some waterfalls?
Ooh,
How cool would that be?
that'd be fun.
And he's like, that sounds like a tourist trap. I'm like, well, it is, but it's 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to look at excursions that we can do on our own. I also saw there's one where two rivers collide and the water is just spectacular, but you have to wade through water for like an hour. So that's where I went on my crocodile research. It was like, and they say don't do that alone because you can get lost and you need a guide to wade you. And I was like, I imagine wading through water like up to my armpits. Like, if it's ankle deep, it's not.
And I imagine it's so funny. I have known my yoga studio had a yoga retreat in Costa Rica this year. Jen, who owns Do Collective, was in Costa Rica this year. Now
I saw
you're
her
going to
pictures
Costa
and
Rica.
I was like,
And I'm
where
like, it's been in my travel and leisure magazines for
see.
years now. I'm like, it's really up and coming as a destination. And I'm sure people are like, I've always gone to Costa Rica. Yeah, but it was considered unsafe for a period of
Yeah.
time. But you could have a monkey on your
I mean, if you
porch.
look at where Costa Rica is on, there's like,
Nicaragua, all
Yeah.
those other contras.
Colombia. We're all close to all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, don't go out at dark.
Right.
Don't be left alone.
Right.
I'm like, Chris, you just can't leave me alone. You have to walk me to the bathroom. No.
Right.
I don't think that's necessary.
But you could take it advantage.
Yes. Well, so years ago, so it made me a little bit nervous just because I'm like, well, I mean, it would kind of be cool, but I don't now have to be careful about going off on our own and where we're going to swim. Because like Aruba, we just
Yeah.
explored the whole island and like, oh yeah, let's try here. I didn't have any fear of that. But years ago, we were in Florida and we had gone on a canoe trip down like near Ocala. So it's like 30 minutes from Orlando. So my husband used to live down there. so my first husband, he used to live down there, and they used to do these canoe runs, and a lot of times they would leave at midnight, or they would leave late at night, and only one lantern from the front canoe was your guide. And so you kind of had to stay in the lane. So it sounded really exotic and really cool, and like, oh, I'm going to do some jungle stuff. So we get in the water, and literally all the lily pads and all the vegetation is like right at your side. You can't even see the water. It's just that narrow strip for your canoe to go in. And you can hear, I'm scared of frogs. You can hear like this guttural croaking. And he's like, those are alligators. I'm like, what? I thought you said that they weren't. Well, 20 years ago, they were on the endangered species list, but Florida's done a lot to bring them back and protect them. And now they're like everywhere.
Now we're making boots out of them.
And he's like, there's going to be a couple of tricky spots, as he says that there's a branch that we have to like lay all the way back underneath it, to lay back or duck down to get under it. And he's like, you just have to be careful about snakes dropping into the canoe. I'm like, what? What did we get? I didn't think it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be from a
disclosure
distance.
stuff at the beginning of the trip,
right?
Before I'm in the canoe.
Well, and we had gone to Gatorland Zoo the day before, and I'd learned that alligators have 3,000 pounds of closing pressure on their jaws. Not so much opening, but on closing. Like, that's a lot of pressure. And that they can use their tail to spring off the bottom out of 6 feet of water and come 4 feet in the air. And here we are in knee-deep water. And so I'm like, okay, we're kind of getting into it.
Do they give you any kind of, while you're at this place, because what they do is they clamp down and then they drown you.
Yes.
And they usually break your neck by spinning.
Yes.
How do you get a alligator to stop spinning?
I don't know.
Oh, like poke it in the eye?
The death roll.
Yeah,
no, but so
techniques?
we had just learned that from Gatorland Zoo, and it says a lot of times because they sun themselves, they're solar thermic, that they'll sun themselves. They're really the only time that they go in the water is either to cool themselves or to hunt. And so I got all this new information. Literally like 5 feet in front of us, there's an alligator that slides into the water. And I'm in the front of the canoe, and you can see the two humps where their eyes are. Literally, like if I stretch my canoe paddle out, I would hit him on the head. And all of a sudden, it goes underneath the water, and I'm like, uh-oh.
Do they know how to flip us?
I'm like, I want a divorce. This is our honeymoon.
Like, I hate you and I want a divorce. I don't trust you now.
Sign me up for? I want a divorce. But then, like, we probably saw 30 alligators. And I had, back in the day, you had the film that you had to,
yes.
the roll of film. And I was like snapping shots like this is going to be National Geographic.
It's just pitch black.
None of them came out.
No, because it's pitch black. You don't have a flash.
It's nasty and furry, but it was fun. But
yeah, now that it's over, it was such a good time.
So, and then we actually swim in a freshwater. There's like a natural spring that bubbles up, but it's in this pond. It's in this lake or like this little body of water, and you swim in, and it's a little bit sandy, and then all of a sudden you have to swim through these paths of seagrass. And so all you see, like these just little channels of seagrass everywhere. Well, that's alligator trails. And he's like, yeah, there's an alligator that likes to sun himself on that dock over there. But what you do is you swim out, and all of a sudden it's like this big hole in the lake. And you can feel the water just pushing you up. So it kind of pushes you back, and you're just kind of floating around it and over it. But apparently the alligator likes to hang out there.
The first time we went to Disney World, and we're going to jet ski in some man-made lake in the area, and we're so excited. And then right before they're like pushing you, they're like, don't fall off. I was like, why? And then in my head, I'm like, do I really look like I can't get back up? And they were like, alligators. And I was like, what? And they're like, every body of water in Florida has alligators. And I'm like, what? And then I was just like, can I have my credit card back? I don't want to do this at all. And I did not fall. But that was my introduction to in Florida anywhere. That's why when people lose their golf balls and they go digging around in the little water feature, don't. Yeah. That's how people lose their arms.
Yeah. Yes, every time. And we played we played at a couple of courses down in Florida, down in Palm Springs, and I'm like, don't go get your ball. Don't get it.
And when we were in South Carolina, I took John for his birthday shark fishing. And they have these baby 3 foot, 4 foot sharks. They take us to this barrier area, and then they fish from the shore and catch them in
Wow.
18 inches of water.
Wow.
And then I was like, where do you go to the bathroom? They're like, in the water. I'm like, the water where you just caught all the sharks? I don't think so. I'm going to hold my pee now until we're done with this for 8 hours.
I'm just going to drop right here. I
I was like, I didn't know that. And they're like, well, they don't eat humans. And I'm like, I still didn't know. I still know they're going to brush up against me.
don't know. You must have take your word for it.
I was like, and then it's one of
I
those
might
things.
look like a tasty snack.
I always think when people say, oh, there's no sharks in these waters, it's like, yeah, no, there's sharks in all the water. I mean, not fresh water, but sometimes they go up fresh water too.
Well, so
But
we were.
saltwater crocodiles, they said they captured one. I forget where we were.
I think saltwater crocodiles are more aggressive too.
They're bigger
Yeah.
because they're eating everything in the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, they have a lot more. But there was one, and he was 13 or 14 feet long, and they said that he jeopardized. They had to pull him out because he kept jeopardizing the NASA launches. Like when they would come and drop back off, and then the divers would go get the people. This guy was just like hanging there, like, oh, I just show up here and astronauts come, so I'll just eat those. So they had to
Little
literally
nuggets just drop right into the water.
chicken nuggets from the sky, human nuggets from the sky. It's fantastic. And I
Meat sticks.
But
right
they had
at
him in such a
fingertips.
small cage because he was such a huge
Yeah.
crocodile. I was like, we should put him in a bigger cage. We should give him his own.
It is
thing.
fascinating to think like just the world has so many amazing, exotic, unique creatures.
And I think when I look at alligators and crocodiles, I think I'm looking at dinosaurs.
Yes.
Elephants. I know birds are the closest thing, but I really
Yeah.
look at that. When you look at an alligator or a rhinoceros or an elephant, you're looking at something prehistoric.
Yeah.
It just feels like from
Yes.
another world. And elephants are so intelligent.
Yes. And they have long memories too. We watch
Yes.
these documentaries where they would they came across, they were looking for water, and so their trek was, I don't know, miles and miles, and they had come across a skeleton of an elephant, and each elephant is using its tusk, its trunk to feel and smell, and they're all manipulating it with their trunk, and they're memorizing like they're taking it all in, like they pay tribute to it.
They actually have a grieving process.
Yes.
That's
That was
pretty
cool.
Yeah. And remember that story of they had 2 elephants in a zoo somewhere or something, and then they get separated for 20 something years, and then as things start, circuses start going away and all of that other stuff because of PETA and animal
Yeah.
welfare. And then these 2 elephants end up at a zoo, and they broke down the enclosure and they found them in the same enclosure. And when they did the paperwork back, they realized that they had known
Wow.
each other 20 years before.
Wow.
They had been in the same location 20 years before.
That's cool.
And when you look at them, I mean, I look at penguins and think, when you're coming back to find your egg and your baby,
Why didn't they have arms, man? Like some kind of.
well, that's kind of why
I always
when you
think about
of
all animals that don't have like any kind of like, you got to peck at your food. and,
knees,
like, you
just knees.
Yes.
Give them knees. They're walking over the tundra for thousands of miles. These dudes could use knees.
Right.
But then they come back and they know their baby.
Yes.
You all look exactly alike.
Yes. Yes.
How do you find each other?
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't like it? And that's why I will always give animals the benefit of doubt that they have a knowing that we just don't understand.
But even think about, did you watch the March of Penguins?
Yes.
Yes, like phenomenal. And I think about like how much we are in awe and amazement of all these exotic creatures and animals. We are the highest life form of that.
Are we? Yes.
Right? Yes.
Well, technically, yes.
Because we have
But now they're
opinions.
making sticks. Yeah. But now they're making tools. Some animals are making tools.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's. I don't know what I was watching, but they were saying what happened, and it was like, oh yeah, the Dark Ages, and I was realizing I don't know that much about the Dark Ages. Is it was you weren't allowed to read and write? Is that what made it dark, or was it just so horrific for humankind? We're lucky we made it out of there.
I don't know, maybe a little bit of both. Maybe they didn't have, maybe they didn't think about telling the story. Maybe it's so horrific that
could-
you
yeah.
didn't want to, like, I'm going to write about this.
Yeah, or maybe they weren't able to anymore.
Or the cave drawings.
Yeah,
Would that be the Dark Ages?
yeah.
Is that part of the Dark Ages?
We're gonna have to look it up at the top
Oh,
of the hour.
so
but-
before we move, we totally got off track. But fun fact.
47 minutes into
So,
it.
fun fact: we used to have a place down in Carolina Beach in North Carolina. So it's like almost the southern tip of North Carolina before you get into South Carolina. So we used to have a place, and across the street was like a little park, and it had a pond, and there were a couple of little like condos and stuff on it. But it was a paved path, and I would take the kids over there, and they would ride their bikes around. And there's an alligator that lived over there, and you could see it. We were always watching for it, but it got there because a lot of times people will go to Florida and they'll get these little. Remember, you'd sell alligators for pets. Well, a lot of times
You could crack the egg, right?
well, yeah. So a lot of times people would get too big, or they just didn't want to, so they would just release them. So that's what back then I'd heard that North Carolina and South Carolina got a lot of those from people as pets that didn't want them anymore. But
So I have a property management story.
yeah,
Alligator property management story in Nashua. I'm hired by someone who's just buying a building. It's a fourplex, and we're going through. We give notice of, hey, we're coming through. We're doing an inventory. We're doing a condition, because when they took over, they had a security deposit, but they didn't have condition of apartments or anything like that. So we were doing that. And as we go through, there is a door that is locked from the outside with a padlock.
oh,
And all those true crime series that I watch, I am like, there is some woman chained to a bed in here, and we are going to rescue her today. This is what I'm thinking, right? So I said to the guy, like, what's the padlock? We need to get in here. And they're like, you can't get in there. And now, because I'm like, we're the legal, these people, these owners are the legal owner
Yeah.
of the building. They have the right to see the whole thing. We gave you legal notice. Don't make us get the police to let you into this room. So they open the room, and there is a small, shallow pool with plexiglass sort of bolted to the pool, and there's an alligator
oh my God!
inside it,
How big is the alligator?
5 feet.
That's a decent sized gator.
And he was the whole pool. So his nose was up at the top, like
was it
pressed
a
against
kiddie
the
pool?
Yeah, take a kiddie pool, then attach plexiglass up the
Yeah.
top, and he was nose to tip in this pool. And
So you can't even really move.
no, and I'm like, this thing's going to end up in Newfound Lake or something. Have no natural predators, and
What's
I'm going to
the
be
river
swimming.
right
I'm going to be swimming and get attacked by an alligator, and they're going to go, how did that happen in New England? And this is the reason, right? And so
Now we have freshwater. We have freshwater gators in New Hampshire.
thanks to the guy he's like, I really like reptiles. Yeah, okay, but you can't have an alligator
Whatever
here.
happened to the alligator?
Fish and Game took it,
Thank goodness.
and I'm hoping they rehabilitated down in South. I don't want it anywhere in New
yeah,
England.
I don't think that they could survive the cold up here.
I don't know.
It's too many months of cold.
Is it?
They're solar thermic. They have to have that heat.
All right.
I guess. I don't know. But,
If you
we
throw
do.
him out in May,
Well, I mean, we do
We
mo-
might have a whole season where he's wreaking havoc at the lake.
He could have been up here long enough that he has, microevolution is,
Yeah.
we're evolving.
But how is
know.
he living in that dark bedroom without solar thermal? He was doing okay in there.
That kind of reminded me, like when we first were looking at our house, when you go downstairs in that second part of our basement, we have that lock, the padlock on that door. And I was like, what are we walking into? Like,
But in my
do
head,
you lock your kids in there?
I was expecting, to be having some woman chained to a thing. Like, I was thinking that. So when I saw the alligator, it took me like a whole minute to be like, that's also not right. This is also incorrect. This also doesn't belong in the apartment in Nashua.
Didn't see that one coming.
Did not see this one. I would not have guessed that. I would have lost the bet.
But this one's bad
I
too.
thought we were rescuing a woman. We were rescuing an alligator. But they
Some
had a-
people would say that might be one of the same.
and they said, well, we have to lock it on the outside because we have a 3-year-old kid. We don't want the 3-year-old kid to be eaten by the alligator.
Oh, that's so smart.
So smart.
They're so smart. You look at them and say, like, wow,
And then you come home from work and
you're
you're
such an
like,
intelligent
you are
human
never
being."
going to believe what happened at work today. And you wouldn't have guessed if I gave you 20 guesses.
You know, they play that game, three truths and a lie.
Yes.
Definitely needs to be in there.
I would win. I would win
Yes.
that round.
Yes. Nobody would guess that.
Yeah, but like you say, pets, and it's like, yeah, people
Never
like,
have I ever.
right. And all of a sudden, if I can have a pet, I want a bobcat or
I want one with hair, fur.
fur.
I don't like pets that don't have hair.
Yeah, and it is getting warm enough. The bears are starting to nose about.
Are they really?
Yep. Yep. And my bobcat is out. My deer are out. Everybody's out and about.
Ooh. Our bunny's out.
My bunny's out too because he keeps crunching on the bush on that end. I'm like, I'm gonna have no bush left if you keep chewing on that. That's why I was like, maybe he should have some carrots. A Costco-sized 10-pound bag of carrots. Can you please eat that over there? And leave my bush
I
alone.
do.
That is my Weingia. It was
Chris
like
hates it,
$170
But
plant.
a lot of times I will take avocados, I'll take the fruit, I have peaches, like I have fruit, salad, carrots, all that stuff. I just open the back door and I throw it off of the deck and Chris is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm composting."
Yeah, bunnies.
He's like, "That's not composting."
that's not composting.
I'm like, "But I'm feeding animals out there. Like it's tough it's tough season right now.
Yeah,
what are they
it's
going to
tough
eat?"
season for them.
And he's like, "You're going to get animals that you don't want." I'm like, "Well,
Raccoons.
I'll stop when they come."
Have you seen the raccoon that the guy feeds hot dogs to? And there's like 50 raccoons that come to his porch.
Oh my gosh, no. I haven't.
So there's the part of me that not so secretly wants a raccoon for a pet.
They
They're
would
like
be
a
cute.
cat. They're like a cat with thumbs.
Yes.
But you can't have a raccoon as a pet because everything I've watched about them is because they have those dexterous little hands. There's nothing that's not in there.
Right.
You know, they're opening the refrigerator, they're opening the
Yes.
cabinets, they're opening the food in the pantry. You can't really keep them contained because they're like, I'm just going to open this right up. I don't have thumbs, but my hands are good enough.
I know how to get there.
I know how to do your trash cans. I'm very smart.
I have enough pull pressure on the floor.
And I love how their little eyes look like bandits.
Yes.
You know, they just look so cute. So
Milo's markings are like that.
Mhm.
I have to send you a picture. He's hanging off the door. I swear, if that French door gets unlocked, he's going to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like,
Well, the handicap, there's a lot of cats who figure out that handicap
yeah,
handle is just one click away
yeah.
from opening.
And Stella
knob's
likes to be
difficult.
outside, but she's gotten more and more skittish. Like she'll now jump up on the Adirondack chair, and a lot of times she does not like her paws wet. She'll do her flick if it's just in a little puddle or something, but and then you can see her like, all right, I'll do it if it has to go across the snow, but she's like, oh, all the way across.
I saw the deer in my yard, and the snow had been cold enough that they would walk on it, and now they crunch through it. So it's like step, step, crunch,
Yep.
step, step, crunch. So, but it's going to be baby season. Yesterday I posted the DOT had a camera that had caught the bald eagles that had hatched.
Oh, it's so cute.
And so on our Instagram and our Facebook, we have the eagle mom or eagle dad feeding the babies.
Oh.
So I did put that up. So it's baby animal season in New England.
It is.
And it's getting warmer. It's getting warmer. I feel like today could be a really great day.
Today is a nice day.
But then
It's-
I'm afraid that if I get too excited, we're just going to get a cold snap and it's going to snow again and I'm going to be depressed. Because for a second I thought we were out of the woods, but we're not.
Well, I said to Chris, we have 30 days until pool opening. He's like, you've been doing this countdown since 4 months.
111 days. 110 days.
Yes.
It's like 100 bottles of beer on the wall.
I'm like, look, Chris, I said the snow is almost melted off the pool deck. We can start to open. He's like, no, we're not. No, we're not. It's actually ripped. The weight of the ice this year, it looks like it's starting to rip our pool cover.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, it's heavy. I don't ever remember it being.
They have those cool pool covers that is your tight across?
It's tight.
So you could walk on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it will give it does
Yeah.
give a little bit. He wants the ones that it's automatic, that it will just roll shut. But like, you've got to rebuild that whole.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to rebuild that whole patio, and who
Mm.
knows how much that would cost.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
We're pulling the pool cover for now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Repair.
so you're going to Costa Rica.
Yes.
For 9 days.
9 days.
That's going to be so much fun.
We're gonna do some golfing. Gonna do some snorkeling. So last year when we went to Aruba, we got those the full face mask snorkels, and so actually they're pretty cool. I mean, you look like a moron in some ways.
Yeah.
Looks like you got your helmet on, like old school. But it is so nice because I have a small mouth, and every time you have the snorkel in your mouth, that mouthpiece, it cuts into the top of your jaws. And anyway, it's nice because you can feel like it doesn't fog up. It's a smaller piece inside of the whole piece that covers, and it doesn't feel like it's suffocating you. Because I feel like a lot of times the masks apparently I have a small head too. Like my forehead, my hairline is always getting in my mask area, so it's always causing a leak. This one eliminates all of it.
So you're going to send us tons of pictures we'll be able to post.
So I am excited.
Yeah.
We do have an underwater camera somewhere that I would like to take. But I'm anxious to see, like, the monkeys are everywhere.
Yes.
Like, that I'm like, I didn't even realize that was a bucket list, but I love monkeys.
Yes.
There's sloths there. Turtles. I think, like, right now is a good time. And right now, in certain parts, I think it's a little bit south of us, that the whales, the humpback whales, there's like 4 different species of whales
migrating
they're
down.
birthing right now.
Oh, nice.
We're kind of on the tail end of that, but I was like, it might be worth it to go and see.
Yes.
So we're going to get a 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, so you're on the Pacific side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they will be there.
I think it's like an hour or 2 south of us, but I figured, we can get up in the morning. Like, my day is, he's like, I was like, aren't you dreaming? I'm like, I'm already filling up. The whole guest bedroom is full of clothes. He's like, how many bathing suits are you taking? And I'm like, do you want to come see? And like, I have some for the house. And he's like, I think you just need to be a little bit careful. He's like, I think they're kind of conservative down there. So you have to be, he's like, don't be granny bathing suits, but.
You don't own a granny
I'm
bathing
like, do
suit?
I have a granny bathing suit?
No, you don't.
And he's like, well, he thinks anything that covers the majority of your bottom is a granny bathing suit.
Oh, I see. All my bathing suits are granny bathing suits.
I know. So I was like, I'm going to bring a couple of them, but I'm like planning out, okay, if I wear this dress, we're going to do this. And so last night I was asking him, what's the most exciting thing that you're looking forward to on our trip? And he's like, I don't think about it like that. I've done all this planning. And I'm like, you don't? Like, what are you most
Are you going to try
excited?
surfing?
What do you most? Maybe.
I think you can surf there.
Yes, you can surf. Because I think there's different beaches where the coastline goes that it's higher surf, so not swimming, but I heard the snorkeling is great. Sounds like you could see, it's pretty easy to see sea turtles. When we were in Hawaii, we swam with sea turtles, and that is what a neat experience. Yeah. You feel like when you're underwater, there's not really any noise.
Yeah.
And then you see this animal, and you always like relate it to TV. You should
Yes.
be having some noise with it, and it's just this dead silent, this massive animal.
Yeah. You're listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. We will come back at the top of the hour. We're going to talk about wanting to live to be 120 or not. I think we might have exhausted that route.
And we're going to
The
talk
answer's
about,
kinda-
are we talking about work?
Yes, we're going to talk about work when we get back. Robin's 4-letter word.
Yes. I feel like we had something else in there too.
Stay tuned.